Welcome to the deep dive. If you've been anywhere near the crypto market, you know it's a roller coaster, right?
Absolutely.
You've got Bitcoin, other digital assets, incredible innovation, truly. But those wild price swings, they make things pretty tricky for, everyday use.
Yeah, definitely not stable enough for your daily coffee run.
Exactly. So, what if you could get the benefits of digital money without that stomach-churning volatility? That's kind of the promise behind
That's
stablecoins.
the core idea.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into what these stablecoins actually are, why they've become so critical, and crucially, the major steps Hong Kong is now taking to regulate them.
Right. So fundamentally, stablecoins are cryptocurrencies, but they're specifically designed to hold a stable value.
Mm,
Now, usually by pegging themselves to some external asset.
like regular money.
Exactly. Like traditional currencies, think the US dollar mostly, or sometimes even commodities like gold. That's the big difference compared to, say, Bitcoin, which just fluctuates based on market demand.
But it's not always that simple, is it? The goal is stability, but reality has shown us, well, not all stablecoins are created equal.
Not at all. There have been some serious bumps in the road.
Okay, so let's unpack that. How do they actually try to keep that value steady? What are the main ways?
Well, the most common method involves what we call reserve-backed stablecoins.
Hmm.
And within that, the biggest category is fiat-backed.
So backed by dollars, euros, that kind of thing.
Precisely. The issuer claims to hold an equivalent amount of that fiat currency in reserve, ideally one-to-one managed by a custodian, like a bank. Tether is probably the most famous example.
Right, Tether. Though they've had some questions raised about their reserves over the years, haven't they?
They have, yeah. Transparency and the actual content of those reserves have been points of discussion. Besides fiat-backed, you also see some backed by commodities, like gold, and others are even crypto-backed.
Backed by other crypto. How does that work with the volatility?
Good question. They typically use over-collateralization, meaning they hold more crypto collateral than the value of the stablecoins issued. It's like a buffer against price drops in the collateral.
Okay, that makes sense. But then there were the algorithmic ones. These sounded really futuristic, no reserves needed in the same way.
Yeah, that was the really interesting and frankly risky frontier. Algorithmic stablecoins.
They tried to use code, right? Like a computer program acting like a central bank.
Exactly. Complex algorithms designed to automatically adjust the stablecoin supply to keep the price stable, matching demand. No direct collateral needed, or at least not in the traditional sense. Very clever idea.
But I sense a but coming.
A big but. While intriguing, some just failed spectacularly to hold their peg. The massive wake-up call for everyone was TerraUSD.
Oh, yeah. May 2022. That was huge.
Huge and devastating.
Yeah.
It was supposed to stay pegged one-to-one with the dollar through this complex relationship with its sister token, Luna. When UST started to slip, the whole thing just imploded. Billions in value wiped out almost overnight.
A stark reminder of the risks when these systems, especially those without solid reserves, go wrong. And it's not just numbers on a screen, right? Real people lost significant money.
Absolutely. And that level of impact, that risk, is exactly why governments and financial authorities are now really focusing on this space. Which brings us neatly to what's happening in Hong Kong.
Right. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority, the HKMA, they've made a significant move recently.
They really have. On May 21st, just this year, 2025, the Legislative Council passed the Stablecoins Bill. This is big because it sets up a proper licensing regime.
Okay, a licensing regime for all stablecoins.
Specifically for what they call fiat-referenced stablecoin issuers, or FRS issuers.
Yeah.
So those linked to traditional currencies like the US or Hong Kong dollar. It's a very targeted, proactive approach.
So if you want to issue a dollar-pegged stablecoin in Hong Kong, you now need a license. What does getting that license actually involve? What are they asking for?
It's pretty thorough. Issuers need to show they have proper reserve asset management. The reserves need to be adequate, high quality, liquid, and importantly, kept separate from the issuer's own assets.
Segregation, okay. What else?
They need robust systems to actually maintain that peg, the stable value. And, crucially, they have to be able to process redemptions at par value. So you give them one stablecoin, you get 1 unit of the currency back, period.
That seems fundamental.
It is. Plus all the usual financial compliance stuff. Strong anti-money laundering, AML, and counter-terrorist financing, CFT rules, good risk management systems, clear disclosure requirements, and regular audits.
That sounds pretty comprehensive, almost like banking regulations in some ways.
It definitely borrows from established financial principles. The Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury explicitly mentioned the principle of Same activity, same risks, same regulation.
Okay, makes sense. But you sometimes hear concerns that this level of regulation might, stifle innovation or maybe push businesses to places with lighter rules. Is that a risk here?
It's always a balancing act, that's true. Every regulator faces that. But the HKMA's stated goal here seems less about restriction and more about building trust and legitimacy.
So creating a solid foundation.
Exactly. They want to create a reliable framework for Hong Kong's virtual asset market. The idea is that this protects users, prevents another Terra-like collapse within their jurisdiction, and actually strengthens Hong Kong's position as a major, responsible international financial hub. It's about fostering responsible innovation.
Okay, so for you, the potential user or maybe investor in Hong Kong, what does this practically mean? How does it change things?
It provides significant new protections. The big one is only specifically licensed institutions can legally offer these fiat-referenced stablecoins in Hong Kong.
So no random unlicensed issuers.
Correct. And maybe even more importantly for everyday users, only stablecoins issued by one of these licensed entities can actually be offered to retail investors.
Ah, so that protects the general public from potentially riskier, unregulated offerings.
That's the clear intention. It also means advertisements for these stablecoins can only come from licensed issuers. It aims to cut down on potential fraud and misleading claims, creating a much safer environment if you're looking to use or hold stablecoins there.
So wrapping this up then, we've seen how stablecoins emerge trying to solve crypto's volatility problem, the different ways they work, some more successfully than others, and now how key regulators like the HKMA in Hong Kong are stepping in with serious frameworks.
Right. Creating guardrails, essentially. This new licensing regime for fiat-referenced stablecoins is a major step in that direction.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? As places like Hong Kong build these robust regulatory frameworks, what does that signal for the wider world of crypto and DeFi?
That's the big question, isn't it? How will this global push towards stability and regulation ultimately shape the future? Could it redefine innovation in digital assets, perhaps making them more mainstream, more trusted, but maybe a little less Wild West? Something to definitely keep an eye on.